Assalamu alaikum guys, my name is Yusuf, a professional chef and graduate from culinary school, and these days I spend my time teaching people how to cook online. Made Halal is a series brought to Freshly Grounded where we're taking a look at the food scene through the halal lens. Man, it's been a while since we've done a Made Halal episode, but alhamdulillah, I'm so glad we're back in this studio. You might have heard a slightly different intro than usual, and that's because we're slightly changing the goals of Made Halal. One of my biggest goals as a chef has always been to take a look at the food scene and really elevate it so that we as a Muslim community can take a look at it and really feel, wow, this is what halal food is really about. I'm incredibly excited to show you today's dish. This dish tells a story about the relationship between Palestinians and their land. Today we are making the national dish of Palestine. We're making moussakhan. It's a very simple dish where we're going to be layering some bread, onions, chicken, sumac, pine nuts, a bunch of spices, and we're drizzling it with some olive oil on top. And the most important ingredient here is the olive oil. As many of you will know, Palestine is incredibly famous for the quality of its olive trees and its olive oil. And olive oil is a very delicate thing, so the mark of really good olive oil is that you'll be able to heat it up and it will retain its qualities. I was talking to Faisal a little bit more about olive oil and its qualities and Palestinian olive oil, for example, and how to look after it. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, then go and check out our Patreon down below and you can see that exclusive video just there. Anyway, back to the dish. It's incredibly simple, so let's just get straight into it. So the first step we're doing is slicing up 3 whole onions. This may seem like a lot of onions for one dish, and it is, but it really makes it special and it's so worth it. So we're gonna slice up these onions nice and fine into thin sort of strips, and we're gonna put them to one side. Next thing, we're gonna prep our chicken, just making sure your surface is clear so you don't have any cross-contamination or anything like that. I'm using whole chicken legs on the bone. I'm just cleaning them up, trimming off any excess fat, and cutting them into thighs and drumsticks. You can keep them whole, it's totally up to you. And once they're cleaned into one side, we can prepare our spice mix. So what you'll find with this spice mix is that I'm not using loads of different spices, but it's still gonna have so much flavor to it. So just trust me on this one. This is pimento, it's 2 or 3 teaspoons into it. Cumin, ground coriander seeds, also some cardamom powder, salt, black pepper, bit of cinnamon going in, bit of sumac. Sumac is quite an interesting ingredient. Maybe some of you haven't used it before. It's sort of the outer skin of a berry and it's ground up to give this really beautiful citrusy flavor. It's incredible. You can use it in salads and stuff like that, and it's really great for this dish and it really shines through, making it a really nice dish for the summer as well. So it's perfect for this weather that's just coming around the corner. All the measurements for these will be in the description, so go ahead and check them out. But what we're going to do is mix it together and use half of that mixture to marinate our chicken with. I'm just going to coat it lightly, rubbing it through, making sure it's nice and coated. Then what I'm going to do is lay my chicken down into a pan, a cold pan that is. I don't really want to use any excess oil or excess fat. You want the natural fat of the chicken to come out. It's going to make it nice and healthy. It's going to really develop that flavor as well. I'm bringing it up to a medium-low heat and just gently sizzling it. You'll start to hear that sizzle. That fat is really going to come out. You're not going to need any excess oil. Once it's nice and beautiful and golden and crispy, we're going to lay it down on a tray, sticking it in the oven. 190 degrees should be enough, about 15 minutes, and it should come out really nice and cooked. While that's cooking in the oven, we can move on to our onions. In that same pan with all that chicken fat, I'm just going to add a couple tablespoons of good quality olive oil, and I'm just going to chuck the onion straight in the pan with a pinch of salt. That salt is going to draw out the moisture of the onion, really making it nice and sort of caramelize and bringing out lots of flavor. And we're going to fry this for about, say, 5 to 10 minutes on a medium-low heat. And once they've cooked through and they're starting to go golden, we can add in the other half of our spice mix as well as an extra tablespoon of sumac. This is really going to wake those onions up, and then after another 5 to 10 minutes of cooking on a medium-low heat, it's going to become really nice and sort of jammy and caramelized. It's going to taste delicious. Okay, so we're basically there. It's an incredibly simple dish, and all we've got left to do now is toast off our pine nuts, which I'm doing in a dry pan, just on a medium-low heat, keeping an eye on it, giving it a good toss. And once they're nice and browned, we're removing them from the heat and we're just going to leave it to one side, and we can begin assembling everything together. Now, traditionally, the base is used with something called taboon bread, which is a sort of Middle Eastern baked bread. It's fluffy, it's fairly thin, and it really allows you to soak up that flavor. This isn't really traditional taboon bread, but it's sort of the best thing I could find. I got it fresh from a bakery. If you have like a bakery near you that does this kind of stuff, that's great. You can use naan if you can't find it, and you can even turn these into wraps. It doesn't have to be served in the way that I'm serving it, but this is a great way to serve it if you want to be more sort of closer to the traditional side of it. I'm simply just going to heat that up, spread the onions over the top of that, top that off with some nice sumac, and then I'm going to place that beautiful cooked chicken on top, topping it off with some pine nuts, and finally, the key to all of this, a nice glug of really good quality Palestinian olive oil. The oil I'm using today is from Holy Land Dates. They benefit the Palestinian farmers as well as donating some of their profits to Palestinian projects. This is not a paid sponsorship, by the way. I just really like this oil. So if you want to check them out, out. I'll leave a link in the description. But that is how simple this dish is. Now let's see how it tastes. Okay, so we're gonna give this a taste. We're not using any cutlery, just using our hands. And this is why the oil makes it so perfect. So when you tear off a bit of that bread, you have it soaked in that beautiful, good quality olive oil. I'm just gonna take it with some onions. I'm also going to take off a bit of the chicken. I love chicken skin, so I'm putting that on top. You almost make, and a bit of the pine nuts as well, you almost make like a little open sandwich, like a bite. You can also make this into wraps as well, but this is the best way. Bismillah. SubhanAllah, man. Honestly, this is one of my favorite dishes. I mean, firstly, you saw it's so simple to make. It's so easy if you wanted to make it into wraps and, you know, maybe take it with you somewhere. But also when you're eating it, you're just reminded of the land of Palestine. It makes you feel more connected to it. And this is why I love food so much. It tells you stories. It draws you closer to cultures and stuff like that. And I think this dish right here tells a story and it tastes delicious. So what more can you want?